Hey guys, Nak is finally back and welcome to a first look at ARK Survival Evolved. First of all, let me start by saying I'm sorry for not uploading anything the last weeks, but between work and my newfound addiction to this game, I didn't really find any time to put anything together. So yeah, since a week or two ago I found out about this game and Steam kindly tells me I already played it for over 250 hours. Now, I know this game is featured by a million YouTubers out there, but I would like to do my part and cover this game for a couple of reasons. First of all, of course, I really enjoy the game. It's one of the few survival games where you feel like there's plenty to do once you get settled and surviving becomes easy. And this also makes this one of the few survival games that are fun to play in PvE. I also was very skeptical since a lot of early access survival games are coming out lately and a lot of them don't deliver on what they promise. But the development team really shows how hard they are working on the game and I feel this work in-game. Between optimizations, new dinos and new features, there's at least a patch a day and more often than not you'll get 2 patches in one day. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, what is Survival Evolved exactly? It's a multiplayer sandbox survival game on PC that will be coming out on PS4 and Xbox One too, by the way. But instead of the traditional zombie, the environment consists out of dinosaurs. The game is brought to us by Studio Wildcard, which for me is a new name when it comes down to developers. Now the game is still in early access and I wouldn't advise this game to anyone who doesn't have a really good PC. Since a lot of optimization still has to be done and even on my GTX 770 I can only really play on medium if I want to stay around 50 FPS. So it's a really GPU intensive game for now and I will report back once I can actually run it on lesser PCs with a decent frame rate. Except these optimizations, I think there are still 2 big other problems. One of them is referred to as rubber banding, which means your character pretty much clips through objects and clips back and forth and it gives for a teleportation effect. Now this happens a lot in combat and it can really be frustrating at times. The other negative is one I have with all survival games, namely the griefing and kill on sight. It takes a lot of work and time to build stuff and tame dinos in this game, so getting it taken away while you're offline is just heartbreaking, and most of the negative reviews on Steam are actually because of this. Which I find to be weird since the fault lies with the players, not the game if you ask me, but that's just my opinion. On the other side, this is the survival game that's still fun in PvE. So that's where I spent most of my time building, taming and leveling, just to check out what was available. What I will eventually end up doing is finding a good community server and I highly advise you to do the same if you plan on playing on a PvP server. Just check out the PlayARK subreddit and you'll find one in no time. Now that I got all the negative stuff out of the way, I have to admit this is a really fun and addictive game, and once you get into it, it will eat up a lot of your time. In its core this is a survival game, and you start out with pretty much nothing, and you have to craft and level your way through to safety. There is XP and a leveling system which makes this survival game stand out in my eyes, since you can't lose your XP when you die unless you play on a hardcore server. Every time you level up you can upgrade one of your stats, and these range from health to carrying weight and passing by oxygen. On top of that you get engram points for every level, and these are used to unlock craftables. This is a really fun way to advance in the game and have a feeling you're evolving and getting better, and there are so many engrams you don't even get enough points to unlock them all. This can sound negative, but it really pushes people to join together in tribes and divide the engram unlocks. For example, my 3-man tribe on the PvE server I play on divided the engrams into structures, saddles and armor and weapons. This makes it so that we can make everything without a problem and still have points to spare. This is not to say playing solo is impossible, because there are airdrops in-game that can give you blueprints that you can use instead of learning an engram. And if you're wondering, we have a base with an electrical generator, lights and refrigerators, so you can really go from caveman to fully loaded with guns and metal structures. Now once you get settled down in your first little base and have all the basic stuff, that's when the game really begins to shine in my opinion. You'll be wanting to tame your first dino. All the dinos in-game are tameable, and this is a really fun way to interact with the environment and actually learn a little about dinos. All of them that are big enough are also rideable, and every one of them actually also has a use for surviving. For example, one of the first dinos you'll want is a trike or triceratops, since once mounted you can harvest berries 100 times faster than by hand. Most of the carnivores are mostly useful to get meat, but you can use a mammoth for wood, a bronto for thatch, and there's actually a new dino incoming to collect fiber, because the community asks for one and they are still planning on adding a ton more dinos, which could potentially keep me interested in this game for a longer period. The taming process gets kind of boring after a while, but they're already looking into ways to make it more interesting without just asking more time, since not everyone has 3 hours to tame a T-Rex or a Spinosaurus. They are also working on bigger maps, and I even heard something about randomly generated terrains. Another big part of the game where they did a really good job in my opinion is the exploration. You start on the beach where you mostly have passive dinos, and that's probably where you'll build your first base, but once you're more equipped you can go more inland where there are more resources but also bigger and more dangerous carnivores. The more you go to the north, the higher level the dinos are, and you can also find caves and underwater caves. The underwater caves are really fun to explore, and you'll need an underwater mount just to get there. There are also the above water caves, and these are filled with loot, metal, crystals and other valuable resources. These caves also have an artifact, and once you find all of them you can actually summon a boss, so there is even some late game activities. There is only one boss for now, but 3 spawn zones, so I expect to see 3 bosses in the near future, and one of them is a dragon for sure, so that's going to be really interesting. I for one am really enjoying this game, and since the developers are doing such a good job, I want to support it in every way possible. So I'm thinking about making Dino Spotlight vids with their ability, their taming process, the saddle requirements and how they stack up against other dinos. So let me know in the comment section if that sounds interesting to you guys. Oh, and by the way, you can find the game on Steam for around 20 bucks, which is a fair price in my opinion. Or you could wait for it to get a better price on G2A, which you can find a link to in the description. And that's about it for today. I'll try to make a Dino Spotlight vid by tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed and are as excited as I am to see more of this game. And as always guys, I'll see you next time.